Today I got another update video for you. More upgrades are in progress. We're going from this old converter to this one here. So this is our old converter here. I call this the battery cooker. This is what came with our unit. Best as I can tell, it is about either a 45 or a 50 amp. Not that that makes a whole lot of difference for our situation, but we're going up to a 60 amp here. And this one is rated to do AGM batteries and some other types as well. So it's not for lithium because we're not going lithium on this setup. But this is the one that was in the unit. Pretty generic. I mean, I guess it kind of got the job done, but we did have a situation with the battery that we got on our unit from the RV dealer. Since our RV was 2 years old when we got it, they had just thrown in something they had lying around, and that battery was a bad battery. It actually had a dead short in it, and luckily it didn't explode on us. We didn't realize how bad it was till we went and took it out. But it was having all kinds of problems, and this poor guy here was working like double overtime. And that was back in in 2019. We were still kind of new and trying to get things sorted out, so we didn't really know what was right from wrong. And we ended up just cruising through that year, and then last year we ended up putting in a brand new battery, and then that one boiled over almost immediately, and then it went dead, which I found pretty bizarre. Felt pretty bad too, because that's not good for those batteries. It was a lead acid, so not an AGM or anything fancy, and I had some problems with it, and eventually I got it on a really high-end battery charger. And when I did that, I ended up kind of bringing the battery back to life, which we ended up on hookups last year, so we didn't really need the batteries too much, but we did boondock a few times, and we were having to run only like half the lights, and they're all LED in this unit. We're having to only run half of them at night and without, risking running our battery down too low, which I think we did a few times, and that's obviously not good for it as well. So we've upgraded to two Group 31 AGMs, so we're getting about 3 times the amount of amp hours now. But we're going to put a new converter in so that we don't have to worry about having our batteries boiling over and things like that. This is a 4-stage converter. It has 3 main stages, so it's got a high, which is like 14.5 volt. So it really helps get a good charge in there, a faster charge. Charges a lot quicker, I guess, than the original. It'll also help to maintain the battery at, I think it's 13.6 is its normal charge. This one has that 13.2 volts, like a float charge, so that it's not boiling the batteries over, which we had a problem with this, the original. And then the 4th-stage is actually, will do I think it's 14.6, 14.7, volts, 14.6, 14.7, something like that. It'll actually put into the battery, it's a desulfate mode. I might be mispronouncing that, but it puts in a really good charge into the battery and helps to break up the sulfur that collects on those lead plates. And, you can do your research on this and why that's important, but it really is part of an important maintenance, procedure for keeping these batteries running their optimal. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. This is going to do a much better job. This thing will not only charge our batteries, but it'll actually help maintain the batteries. So very important. Whereas this one would just, charge the batteries. It would take a lot longer, and then eventually when the batteries were charged, it would just sit there and keep piping the juice in at a higher rate, which would cause the batteries to run very hot. So I'm really excited to get this in. This ran about $250, so it wasn't too expensive. A few differences with these, and I'll show how I'm going to install this. You'll have, usually hardwired, your original, a lot of times will be hardwired from the videos that I've seen out there on YouTube. Some people actually have a plug and an outlet, and those that don't, like myself, a lot of times will put an outlet in. I don't really see a point of putting an outlet that I'd never be able to use back there. So I've got the plug here, and I thought about just cutting this off and wiring this straight in. I started thinking, if I ever needed to change this or, decided to go with something different, how nice would it be, since they all come with usually a plug on them, to just get for a couple bucks on Amazon. I ordered it at the same time, and I got this on Amazon as well. I just ordered a 6-foot cable, and I cut the end off, and what do you know? You got your three right there. So this is a 14 gauge, I believe, is what I ended up getting. Yeah, 14 gauge, and it's the same as what's on there. So it's gonna work perfect. And I'm gonna wire this in place so that behind the unit, stuffed back underneath the cabinet, I can just plug that in, shove the wire back there, and we're good to go. And that way, if I ever change my mind or want to change, somebody wants to put lithium and they want to get a lithium converter, it's just an easy swap there. So I've already got that ready to go. I ended up just getting some new wire at the RV place, and of course they did not have any black. So I just cut 2 chunks, and I'm upgrading from 8 gauge right here. I'm going to 6 gauge, which is what the whole rest of the system going back to the batteries is all 6 gauge, so I'm keeping everything 6. It's a little upgrade there, and I just put some heat shrink on the end there, so that is my negative, and we've got our positive, and I've just gone ahead and soldered the ends just to keep them nice and solid. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing thrown down in there. I'll show you how I'm gonna set mine up, and we'll see if it all works once we get the batteries up, which sadly I've got to wait a whole day for. That'll happen tomorrow. I've got all new cables, longer cables, to get all the batteries set up out front. All right, I apologize for the low light here. Obviously we can't have any electricity on right now because that would be very shocking if we did. Make sure that your DC is off, and make sure that you're unplugged. You don't want either of them on because you're actually working in both right here. But right here is the wiring for where the other unit, it just used to go down in there. I've already clipped those ends off and got everything ready to go, ready to be wired up. So we're just going to put some wire nuts on there and just going to put the other cable and just shove all that up in there. As far as the other 2 wires, what's going from, so this is your AC coming in to the converter that sits down here, and then the DC comes up and around. We've got the DC going out right here, and then these are the 2 that run out to your batteries and charge them up. They're again 6 gauge, so I will be going 6 gauge out of the converter as well. But anyway, you have your positive cable will go in here, and your negative cable here, and everything is listed right there with negative and the positive. Of course, take pictures when you take yours apart just so you know, but there's nothing to it. If you have very limited skills, I think you'll be just fine with this. It's just really basic stuff. I mean, and I guess you don't want to be colorblind either, but just match the colors up and put the negative where the negative goes, positive where the positive goes, and you're done. The only other thing that I had to modify a little bit was the back of my box. Well, there used to be a back on the box, and I know the lighting is probably not too good here. Yeah, there we go. So the back of the box here, we ended up cutting that out. I just used a saw, cut that right out of there, and that way the new unit will fit in, since the new unit is a little bit longer. So to hold the new unit down, because the old unit used to use these 2 screws right there. There's 2 screws that just held it in place. I just drilled 2 holes right there and right over there, and that is where I'm going to run some bolts up just to keep it in place, and that's it. It's very simple. This whole project, I don't know, maybe take you an hour. It's taken me 3 days because I get to do about 10 minutes and maybe a little more than that, and then I'm having to run to do something else. One other thing that I noticed is there is a ground on the bottom of mine right here. I'm not sure if I really need that. It doesn't even say from me glancing in the manual about it. I've got plenty of copper around, so I'm going to stick a ground in there and put that in with the wire nut on the ground here. So can't have too many grounds. I mean, alrighty tubes. Wow, that is exactly what I said the other day. This is a 1-hour project that has taken me, I don't know, I'm on day 6 right now. It is now Friday. That was Tuesday. Started this on Saturday. Every 10 minutes I would get started, I would get called away to go do something else or have to get involved in something else. But we're back today to finish up this converter. This is a 1-hour project. However, I will say one thing about that, and that is if you decide to go and be an overachiever like me and upgrade your wires from the 8 gauge that is on there originally, but they have 8 gauge on their converter, and I went with 6 gauge because this white one and the positive down there, which is black, it's hard to see right now, those ones are 6 gauge as well. Of course, the lower the number, the thicker the cable. So I wanted to upgrade these to 6 as well. I had a hell of a time getting that in there. Let me tell you, I even swore 3 times in a row. It was really tough getting those things in there, so can't recommend that you do the same, but I ended up just fishing those in. I'm having to hold the box right now, so don't go falling down. But yeah, basically I had to run that up and over that way, and I got that one down and over that way. I went ahead and cut that side out over there because there's no point in having that plastic. It was pretty much what you see over on that one there. But I went ahead and got both of them in there. This will all tuck behind, and I know the lighting is pretty bad. Obviously I can't have power on in here right now, but there's plenty of room back in there once you get by this. Once you get by that ledge right there. We've got everything hooked up there, and I went ahead and ran my wiring for the plug that I'm putting in. Instead of doing an outlet, I got that wired in. I'm going to go ahead and tape these and tuck them all up nicely in there. It'd be kind of like the one that was there originally, where they've tied into the breaker there. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So these will get taped and tucked, and then behind here we have got the plug somewhere. I'm trying to hold so much stuff here, but right here is the plug to the converter. So I'm gonna fish the other one back there and then plug them in and just let them sit back there. So that way that's all nice and tucked away. And then lastly, I'd like to point out what I did was, as I said, I cut the back out here, which is all that back there. Cut all that out. Which is super easy. You could use about anything. I use a little jigsaw. Cut that out because this converter is a lot bigger, and I just drilled 2 holes and ran 2 bolts from the underside there right up and in, and that way it's being held down, and so everything is nice and in place. Oh man, I just need to get this project done. This is like the easiest project, and I just need to get it done because I got to get power back in this thing, because we have got a lot to do in a very short time to do it, to get on the road, if we're going to get on the road here in another week or 2. All right, there's another look right there. We've got everything tucked away all nice back there. Like I said, I did hook up that ground wire that was down there. I don't know, it was there, and it was pretty easy to throw in there. I don't know if we needed it or not. I tried to read the book here, the manual. Honestly, it made me feel kind of sleepy, and I didn't really like the way the first chapter went. So everything else is in place, and we should be able to get the cover on. Aw, for frick's sakes, I knew I forgot something. This is a little dealio that it comes with, a little sticky back on it, and it has like a little foam cable. Plugs into the back side of the converter, which is meaning that I get to pull that thing out again, which is not a big deal, but I gotta plug that in, because what it does is basically tells you the status of the converter, if it's in boost mode, if it's in normal, or in storage mode, and you can actually hit a button here to override it, and then right above that wizard, like his little ball there, he's is it a ball or a crystal? I don't know, what do wizards have? But there's a little light right there that has a color to let you know what's going on. So I don't know where I'm going to put this yet. I'm thinking right down here, maybe, you know, pop a little hole in right there, run the cable up and through. Probably do something like that. Did the same kind of thing over here with the USB chargers that I put on, and that's also got a battery meter. It's a cheap thing, but it works pretty good. I actually did that a couple years ago and just ran the wires for that up and through. So I gotta go pull that out and get this thing plugged in. Well, there's the done deal right there. I put the little thingy down there that notifies you what's going on, and got that mounted up. It's all plugged in. So tomorrow I will finally be able to get the power back on in here. I'll be able to make sure everything's working, and I'll be able to get those batteries hooked up. And then I start with a whole bunch of more wiring projects to get a lot of USB chargers, to get our mobile must-haves PepWave bundle installed. And we've also got to get, there's just boxes of stuff sitting here that have just got to get put in. I can't even think of all of it. There's so much. So we got a lot of stuff that's got to get done. But anyway, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this one. This is an easy project, like I said. It shouldn't take you no more than an hour, unless if you go ahead and try to upgrade your wiring like I did to a little bit thicker wire, which is not at all necessary. I just wanted to bring everything up to 6 gauge or down to 6 gauge, which is thicker. So that made it really hard to get that in there, but we got that done. Everything looks great, and if I ever have a problem on the road, I'll be able to just unplug this, unbolt these 2 bolts, and just take everything right out and swap this out. You know, when I upgrade stuff, I try to also think of how can I make this better if I have to fix this on the road. Because at home, you've always got the option of all the tools and all the things you need, and sometimes when you're on the road, you don't have that time and all the tools and the luxury of having everything right there at base. So, all right, here's my battery situation, the RV lockbox that we've got on here. And basically, I've got my breaker right there that I put on here 2 years ago. And so I'm going to be replacing both of these wires. These are the original on here. They are 6 gauge, so I'm actually going to be upgrading those to 4 gauge back here and putting something a little thicker on. So we basically got to run our positive, because in this case positive is black. I couldn't get a white and a black, so I just got black and red. So we're going to run a new one in here, and the same thing back there with the white one that goes to the frame. We're going to basically put a brand new wire on. So this box here was $300, and this is the bigger box, a 27-inch. So I have 2 AGM batteries in here, and these are size 31. So they're nearly 13 inches, and they fit in there pretty good. There's a little bit of room on both sides, and that should do pretty good. There is a rubber grommet and a hole down there where everything's going to come through. So I'm going to go ahead and run my wires up there, get everything snugged down, and we should be good to go. Okay, we got the wires run through the grommet down there, and I've got my straps in. Now they actually recommend that you use the Atwood straps that come with your plastic battery box. I would not do that. Those things are garbage and they rot out really quick. Not that they would have as much problem inside this box, but they do go outside when they go down underneath and up through. So I actually just got some pull straps. You can get these for a couple bucks on Amazon, and definitely a whole lot more durable. So again, the reason that I run a breaker switch like that is just so that I know I can cut power off to the trailer, especially when it's in storage. And I put it in this nice little box right here to keep everything watertight. Now I will have to go ahead and put some more silicone in there just to keep the bees and things out. I don't want any surprises when I go to open it. But everything's run through there, and I think I'm just gonna probably tie this stuff up behind here and put some wire ties, and just kind of, it'll all just kind of be tucked up there. So if you're wondering how this battery box mounts, obviously it's bigger than the original bracket, and it's pretty simple. They give you some screws, and basically they just go right through the frame, and they stick out a little bit underneath there, and not really causing any issues. Just want to make sure you don't hit your propane lines, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and lift these big heavy batteries back up here, get these put in place, get those tied down, and then we'll go ahead and connect them here in just a minute. I want to also point out to make sure that you use those plastic stops that they give you, because that's what keeps your batteries off of the bolts that you run in the bottom. If you forget to put those down, then you will probably end up wearing a hole through your batteries. All right, so we got the wires run up here, and basically what you want to do when you're hooking up two 12 volts is you're going to have to do them in parallel. You don't want to do it the wrong way, or you'll end up with a 24 volt battery, which some motorhomes use, but not these things. So what you're going to want to do is bring your main positive up here and run to the positive on this side, and then you're going to have over here is where the one from the frame comes up and goes to the negative on this battery. And then we simply have a wire going from the negative of this one to the negative of this one, and then another one going from positive of this one to the positive of this one. And that's all ready to be tightened down. I haven't put the nuts on there yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll trim up these straps. But got everything on here tight. The straps are working pretty good. They hold everything in place pretty good, so the batteries aren't flopping around in here for hitting some bumps. But if everything is right, we won't have any explosions or anything. So let's kick the breaker. All right, I don't have sparks flying, and we'll see if, ooh, oh man, after a whole week, it's nice to have some power in here. So that part's done. So time to get the nuts on here, and I'm gonna go ahead and use, just because I have a little bit of OCD, I'm just gonna grab a couple of washers and throw on there just to kind of hold everything down nice. All right, so I'm just gonna give myself a little bit extra because I'll just tuck it down there, but we don't need like the extra, I don't know, 10 feet that are here. So just gonna go ahead and give that a cut right there. And then you want to make sure you burn it. This is the only time it's appropriate to have your camper on fire. All right, and that is that. I should tuck down there real nice. It's not hot or anything, so I'm just gonna send the extra. You just want to leave yourself a little bit extra though, so you got something to pull on if you ever take the battery out. You don't want to cut it too short or you'll have a hard time getting it tight. So that's on, all those are down. I went ahead and made sure that these were going around the lugs here because you do not want these things to be on the other side and touching. Common sense is key. It's pretty simple stuff though, anybody can do this. And I'm not so sure I'm liking where this one is right here. So I'm just gonna loosen that up, and I'm gonna swing this one around on top there, just because I don't want anything rubbing on the side of the box. And my power is still off. I just always like to have lots of room that I don't have to worry about anything chafing or doing anything stupid when you're going down the road having an earthquake. Torque these down to about 200 foot-pounds. That is a joke, don't do that. Tight, but not too tight. Once that's all done, you're pretty much set to go. And then the last part is to fit on that box. Now ours is right up against this thing tight. I did that just because I wanted to make sure that I had enough room with the weight distribution, which we've got the equalizer going on here. So I just wanted to get this box back and out of the way as much as I could. So I kind of have to just hold the side of the trailer there because it does rub a little bit. And then that thing goes on and you've got a good lock that goes on there, and nobody's gonna end up messing around with your battery. So that was an expensive upgrade. And if you're wondering why we didn't go with lithium ion, we would have loved to, but we're only planning on keeping this trailer for a couple more months till we get our fifth wheel. My wife's giving me a good look right now. we're gonna be only keeping this thing for about 1 year, maybe probably not 2, because we're getting awfully grown out of it. So this is just going to be a good alternative. The batteries I got for $189 and a 10% off of that. So I think we paid what, it's like $80. $170 I think is what it was. So anyway, pretty good deal on the Group 31 batteries. And then we ended up, like I said, $300 for the box, which it's a little pricey. I don't really like to have to spend that much for something like this, but I mean, I really didn't want to come back to our camper while we're out on the road and find our batteries gone, because usually what they'll do is they'll cut the straps and they cut the cables. They don't take the time to gently unscrew them and just take your batteries. So then you end up having to replace cables, and it's just a big mess. And when you're putting in our case, it was still pretty cheap, but $400 worth of batteries, you know, that's a lot right there in the box. If you had lithium, there'd be $2,000 of lithium sitting in there. So thankfully with the fifth wheel, one day we won't have to worry about this because they'll be inside of a compartment or wherever they're tucked in. But for this setup, this is going to work pretty good. And like I said, with the new converter on there, we will be charging, and this is going to give us about 3 times the amp hours over our old Group 24 battery that we had on here before. So should be a good project there. Oh man, it feels so good to have that project done right before sunset. Just skating to get that done. So I went ahead and got a couple of the lights on here, but everything is tucked away, plugged in. So I'm gonna head inside and check it out and see how the converter is looking. I gotta go plug it in though first, the RV that is. We're gonna see if I don't know if the lights are any brighter or not, but in my mind they are. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on here. I haven't plugged it in yet. I just wanted to check out, make sure we didn't have smoke rolling out of here. So it's flashing. Flashing means it's in normal mode. Huh, okay. So these are brand new batteries. Like I said, I'm assuming they've got a good charge on them, but I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in and we'll see what happens. Okay, hopefully there's no smoke coming out again. We are plugged in and it says it's in normal mode. I don't have anything running. I'm gonna see what the boost does, but no fan or nothing. I imagine that's gotta get warmed up. Obviously, safety tip here, don't touch anything when you got your panel cover off. So I'm gonna be putting ours on here in a second. So that's why I don't have the kids in here. Completely forgot about my little handy dandy deal over here that I put in 2 years ago, but it says 14.4, which is pretty awesome because we could only ever hit 13.6 on this old fart here. So it's still sitting there in solid mode and I can't like do anything with that. I've seen it flash a couple times. So it's definitely charging. There is no fan. I mean, I'm not expecting it to be on. It thermostatically controlled, I'm sure. These don't really feel too warm at all. I mean, it is pretty cold out. I think it's like in the 30s right now. So I'm gonna go outside and unplug it and then we'll see what we get. Did not think I'd have time to test all this tonight. So we're sitting at 12.9. So those are fully charged batteries because we should be getting 12.6. Yeah, it's dropping down to 12.8. And I've got like fan and a few things on in here. Yeah, it's dropping 12.7, 12.8. Just a little FYI also, a little tip. So 12.6 volts is what you should get when your batteries are fully charged. There's charts out there, you can look it up, but in general, if you don't have a fancy battery meter that tells you all the stuff, and I'd love to get one in here, just again, we don't know how long we're going to have this rig for. So basically, when you're down to 12.1, that means you're down to about 50%. When you see, if you see, actually it's a little bit above that, but I always say 12.1. If you see 11 showing up on a meter like that, that means that you have gone probably too far. You're down below 50, and every time you go below 50% of your battery's capacity, you're technically you know, putting extra wear on it, and that's shortening the life of it. So you only go half on these AGMs, and the lead acid are the same way. Lithium ion, you can run them all the way down, and that's why like I said before, we had one size 24 that was about a 75 amp hour battery. So if you take that in half, you're 37-ish. So we went from the high 30s all the way up to 105 because we've got two batteries here and they're both 105. So 105, and you take that times 2, all right? But then you have to divide it by 2 because again, only half. So you're right back to 105. So we've got 105 amp hours, which is, like I said, we've gone nearly 3 times. But I've just got everything running here, and I'm not expecting like anything too crazy to happen here just because we've got, yeah, and see there it's just dropped down to 12.4. It's gonna be interesting to kind of see what happens. Like I said, we've only had the lights on here for about 10 minutes, but I don't know the status of these batteries, being that they are brand new. We'll turn this off and we'll see. Yeah, just right around 12.5. So I mean, and I'm sure that thing's not like the most high tech there, but it's nice, a little reference. So this thing is sitting in solid. I'm gonna go and plug it in one more time and come in and see if it's in boost mode or if it jumped into the regular mode. And we're sitting there charging at 14.4. Ooh, I just held that in for about 3 to 5 seconds and it dropped down into normal mode. 13.7. I'm gonna have to do some testing because, like I said, before I relocate this, I really want to find out if it's going to be an issue if somebody bumps that, if it's going to stay in the boost mode and then leave it for a long period of time. I would think that it would eventually detect that the batteries are like doing pretty good and it would come out of that. I hope so, because then it wouldn't be a huge deal if somebody did bump it. I really should learn to read, but it's so hard to see in here. I was looking at it a little bit closer, and yeah, it definitely says to press and hold. I don't know for how long, but I did about 5 seconds. Press and hold to change the mode. So now we've got it in that mode, and there you go. That is 13.3, and then it's jumped up to 14.4. So the other one was storage mode. There's the boost mode, and then yeah, it was about 5 seconds. Now it's dropped to 13.7, and it's in the normal mode, and then it goes back to boost when you push it. I held it for maybe a little while longer. I don't know, I can't get it to go into the other mode now, so I really held it for like 10 seconds, and then it dropped into that storage mode. In storage mode, it'll actually sit at 13.3, or I think it says 13.2 in the book, but then what it'll end up doing is every 30 hours or so that it's in storage mode, it'll give it a 15-minute boost mode just to help break up the sulfate on the plates. So that's why it's a battery maintainer. We're just gonna have to take it out and start using it. I know we're gonna be good to go. So that's gonna wrap another project up, but don't worry, we've got plenty more where those came from. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe down below. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you've got questions or your experiences with upgrading your batteries and converter. So we're gunning to go, and until next time, take care. Well, hello everybody. I hope you enjoyed that video. I did want to drop a little update here in the future. We're now in February of 2022, and we've had this system up and going now flawlessly for 10 months since April of last year. In those cold Wisconsin April days, now we're in some much warmer weather, but we have had no problems with this in a year. Since that video is recorded, I haven't had to touch anything, I haven't had to do anything, and I'll tell you, this has been one of the best upgrades we have done on this rig. It has bailed us out so many times, specifically last year on the trip that we rolled out and did, and a couple times this past winter in some of the cooler climates in the south we were in Alabama. We were in situations where we didn't have electricity, we were boondocking. We did several times where we traveled for up to 3 days boondocking and staying at like the Walmart parking lot, so on and so forth. The batteries in this converter have been wonderful, just allowing us to be able to power everything up, including, and a lot of people found out about this in Texas in 2021 when the power went out and people lost their ability to run their propane furnace because of the 12-volt blower. Their batteries ran down, they couldn't run the furnace anymore. And so we had a few times where we were boondocking as we traveled, and we were able to keep our furnace going all night long. And I know that once I'm down to 12.1, the 12 volts right in there, that's 50% capacity. You never want to go any lower on a lead acid or an AGM. So just having that simple gauge right there always gave me the confirmation that I needed that we were doing okay. We ran our furnace all through the night on some very cold nights boondocking. I wouldn't have been able to do that if we wouldn't have done this battery upgrade. So to date, this has been probably our best thing that we've updated, and everything with the system, with the converter, with the batteries, the remote, all that, everything has been flawless, not one problem. And I don't want to jinx it, but it's been wonderful. And we've only got about a couple months left now with this rig, and our next unit will be doing the lithium ions, and we'll have a generator. Just wanted to touch base and let you guys know that this has been wonderful. So highly recommend this project. All right, well, stay safe everybody. I hope y'all are getting out and enjoying yourselves. We'll have one more project video before getting started on season 1. Until next time, take care.